out what is the next strategy, what is the next move that we need to make to not only just grow in clients, right, grow in sales, but also grow in capacity, because we need to manage both the demand for services and the way and efficiencies in how we provide that service or product. Well, I was faced with this challenge a few years ago, where I am a mother of four. I have had my business for many years, and I've always run a small business, all while my children were young. But I had the luxury, if you want, of being the second income in the home. And about 4 years ago, my husband had a problem with his full-time employment. And basically, he came home one day and he said, by the first of the next month, I will no longer have the main income. And at that time, my business was growing, but I only worked part-time, probably from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. when my kids came home. And my team was very small. Almost, I think I only had one assistant at the time. And first of all, I went into freak out and panic mode and put my head under the pillow and said, this is not possible. I can't do this. But then I started asking myself the question, what is the one action I need to take to grow my business? What is the one move I need to take? And also, what business model is going to support basically doubling the revenue of my business month to month to satisfy the financial needs of my family? And yes, I went into the whole conversation in my head of what if I fail? What if I look dumb? What if people judge me? What if I can't deal with the load? And all these questions, most of them left me overwhelmed and even more scared to take any action. But eventually, I started asking myself some basic questions. And that is what I'm going to present to you today. I started asking myself, what am I really good at? What are the services and offerings that my clients get the most value of? And at the end of the day, what am I truly passionate about? This photo that you're seeing is part of my work as a communication specialist. I am a TEDx organizer, and I do work a lot with speakers and in speaking engagements to help them engage with their audience. But ultimately, I am passionate about ideas, and I'm very passionate about helping people turn these ideas, these business ideas, these service ideas, into companies that are not only growing and thriving, but that are sustainable over time. I have been involved in different organizations over the years. I volunteered for some of the ones that you see on screen right now. E4All is a small business incubator kind of organization. I've been a mentor and a judge. Next TP Labs is a similar organization in Argentina, which is where I'm from, and it operates in whole Latin America. But either way, I work in both English and Spanish. And Startup Weekend is also an idea catalyst, and TEDx. You guys know what TED Talks are. I've worked a lot with TED and TEDx speakers. So as I was pulling my teeth and trying to figure out how am I going to do this? How am I going to literally double my revenue in the next 30 days so that we could still pay the mortgage and the payment plans for our cars and all the things that we were committed to? And as I've started asking myself that question and going back to basics, what ended up, the result of that process that I did for myself is what ended up in some ways leading me to this methodology that I'm going to teach you today. I call it the idea method. And what the idea method is a very clear framework that will allow any business owner or business leader, it doesn't matter. I've tested this model with very tiny small businesses and really large corporations, and the process is the same. And it's a 9, I call them clarity layers. It's 9 clarity layers framework that by exploring each one of these layers, what we get out of it is a clear blueprint of what part of our business needs our attention at any point in time. And ultimately, I'm going to share with you a clarity assessment can actually use this methodology in assessing where you need to focus your time at any point in time, any day of the week or any quarter or any time in the business planning phase, on business planning activities. So let's get started with the beginning. Let's start with the idea. And the design, this graphic that I present is strategically designed to depict kind of the process of exploration. A lot of people just go and try to put off the fire, and they say, well, what's wrong is our marketing, what's wrong is our conversion, what's wrong is our messaging, which might be true, but in many cases, they throw the baby in the bathwater by trying to fix it. How many of you have suddenly decided, well, my business is not growing, so I'm going to rebuild the website completely, or I'm going to just create more products, right? Maybe the market needs something else. But when we do those reactions to the problems or challenges that we're facing, what we end up getting is a mess of decisions that ultimately do not have a cohesive strategy behind them. So when we talk about the idea method, we want to go through the process of re-anchoring the work that we do and the products and services that we offer in the core idea of our business. So where do we start? We start clarifying the core idea. We start asking ourselves questions like, what is the problem that we solve? What problem do our clients have, right? And how do we help them? How do we actually bring our problem from our client from point A to point B? Whether you're offering a coaching service, or you're offering, or you sell a specific product, or you offer construction services, or you are a real estate agent and you sell houses. It doesn't matter what you're doing, but you are taking your client from the situation that they are in when they come to you to a different situation that they desire. The more clear you are in exactly what that looks like, the easier it is for you to talk about it when you go out into the world. And I do have a framework on how do we talk about our work. This is a framework that if you've ever been in a networking session and you've been asked to introduce and share with the room what your business does, and I don't know, personally, I've had so many situations where I was asked to introduce my company. This is years ago when I wasn't so clear about what I did, that I would literally sweat and try to shrink in my chair, not to stand up and say what I did, because I would always mess it up or say too much or literally confuse the people around me. So here's a framework that you can use to specifically and in a concise way talk about what your business does. So 2 actions so that outcome. Outcome is a problem that you solve, right? Is, for example, in my case, I help business owners gain the clarity of message and business model they need so that they can grow their business. So the outcome that I offer, the outcome that in some way I kind of provide is business growth. Month to month, year to year, more revenue, more sales. And the way I do it is through guiding my clients to clarity of messaging and business model. Each one of you will have an answer to this framework, and I want to encourage you to test this. By the way, I'm going to give you a couple of resources by the end of this webinar so you can take with you and actually do some of the work. But 2 actions for that outcome is a very simple framework that will help you create a 1-sentence statement to the question, tell me about your work. And it will basically create this kind of magnetic reaction in the room, because the moment you clearly state the outcome, the problem that you solve, don't be surprised if people just turn around and say, can you help me, right? Because that's really what you're looking for. You're looking to be so clear in the problem that you solve that you don't even have to go looking for clients. So step number 2, or layer number 2 in the idea method, is your proprietary system. Now, if you're a service entrepreneur or product kind of business, the answer is the same. This talks about your unique recipe. Even if you are selling to the market a product or service that is kind of a commodity, I want you to think about what are the ways that you do this differently. Obviously, if you are running a bakery, it could be your unique recipes, right? My sister is an entrepreneur. She runs a very successful bakery in Argentina, and her recipes and some of the ways that she cooks are her unique proprietary system. That's kind of her formulas, if you want. But in many cases, if you're selling a commodity, like the same product that anybody else around you sells it, sometimes your unique recipe is in the way you sell it, or in the approach you take to customer service, or in the way you deliver, or in the way that the client places the order that is more effective or faster. The unique proprietary system may or may not be in the actual service or product that you deliver. And I want to make sure that this is clear, and maybe we have some questions on this later. So the proprietary system is what makes your product or service stand out, is the way the experience, the way your clients experience the service or product that you offer. That is unique to you. And sometimes you just have to kind of sit down with pen and paper and write it all down, or go ahead and ask some of your top clients and say, why do you choose us? Why is it us versus somebody else? I have a friend of mine who owns a franchise of garbage removal, he owns trucks, and he's hired to go to homes and commercial properties and remove construction debris and people moving from one house to another, and they want to get rid of a lot of stuff. So his service is not necessarily unique. There's a lot of companies that do that, but he does it in a way that makes him stand out. And that's what I want you to think about. It's like, what about the experience that your clients have with you make you different? So let's go to clarity layer number 3, right? Business model. Now, here's the thing with business model. They're not all created equal, and there's something to be said about developing a business model that is A, sustainable, 2, scalable, but 3, that is aligned with who you are and the kind of life that you want to have. So depending on your business and the size of your business, you may or may not have more kind of wiggle room to play with this. But for all of us, whether it's however we create the business model, we have to create in a way that is sustainable, not just financially for the business, but for us. Sometimes it could be in the way that we sell our products and the way we structure our packages and our pricing, but also all the way to the way that we provide the service or products that we offer, and allowing us, the entrepreneur or the owner, to remove yourself from the equation as your business grows. Because the only way that you can have a scalable company and move from very, very small business to a more sustainable mid-sized organization is that you create such systems that allows you to become the owner, an entrepreneur overseeing the organization, and over time, you might even move from there, but allow for systems that are scalable and allow you to grow your business with ease, right? With a very feeling of flow, if you want. If you are a service entrepreneur, what you're seeing on the screen is a business model, and it can also be replicated in products, but it's a business model that creates the whole organization is aligned under the proprietary system, which we talked about is your unique recipe, right? And so we're all aligned on that proprietary system. And we create ways to fulfill that service, to kind of bring that outcome to the client, that are scalable by measuring or giving more or less private or customized time with the client. So In my case, I offer services in that the clients can work directly with me when I go into their business and literally map out their blueprint strategy, or they work in some of our coaching programs where they're working with me in more of a group setting. In some ways, this webinar is, if you want, a one-to-many, because we're able to be together as a group, as a large group. I'm not sure how many people are in the room right now, but it could be as much as 200 people at a time, right? And so it allows us to create an experience and deliver our services and products in a way that reaches more people with less amount of our time. And this has a benefit because not only it allows us to scale, of course, because we don't need so much time to deliver service, but it also offers a more affordable version of our outcome or of our services to a larger audience, okay? So let's move on to clarity layer number 4, services, products, and packaging. Now, if you notice, each one of these layers builds on each other. I'm going to repeat a little bit. So the yellow, the idea, is where we clarify our core idea so that we're always aligning with the one problem that we solve. The proprietary system is how we stand out from our competition. What is unique about the way we deliver our product or service, or the way that our product or service is designed, that makes us less of a commodity and makes us as an intentional choice for our clients. Then we talked about the business model, which absolutely is aligned with the core idea and is empowered, if you want, or it's rooted in the proprietary system. So in the business model, we just, and this is a service business model example, we talked about the different products that we would offer, do it yourself or a hybrid or customized. So in this clarity layer that we're talking about, the service, product, and packaging, what we're talking about is how do we create a solution for a client that includes what the client will need. And sometimes you are kind of projecting what your client will need ahead of time. Well, I don't know the details, let's say, of a company like McDonald's. I'm pretty sure that at the very first offering in McDonald's, back when they started, they probably just sold a burger. And with time, they added products to their menu. But now it's almost like they design their products in such a way that the burger is no longer a product. It's almost like you have to really be assertive in asking if you just want to have a burger, because it is so much easier on what they offer is really the product of satisfying your hunger now and your thirst at the same time, and they bundle everything in one combo, right? Like, you know, many of you have probably experienced, and my kids absolutely love. So when we talk about packages and pricing, we're talking about anticipating your client's needs. So here's 3 ways to do that. You can start by making a list of the current offerings, all of the things that you have in your menu of offerings, services and products. And for each one of them, identify what part of their overall problem they solve and how, you know, and how they do that. And then start looking at that menu and understand what are complementary products and services that will make that solution even more attractive. I have 4 children, as I mentioned, and when they were little, I would read this book called, and I don't know if you have kids or you've ever read this book, called If You Give the Mouse a Cookie. And it's a great children's book because what it does, and for this conversation, what it does is it kind of tells the story of, if you give the mouse a cookie, it's going to ask you for a glass of milk. Once you give them a glass of milk, they want to brush their teeth. And the story goes on and on of every single thing that this mouse asks for, it opens up a new need. And so you want to ask yourself, you know, if I solve this problem to my client, what is the next need that they'll have? I'll give you an example here in my company. I've been running this Masters in Clarity for the last 6 years. and I do a lot of coaching and strategy. But here's the thing that I learned. Once my clients have a clear strategy of what they need to do, basically I give them the cookie, they will ask for something else. And many times they were going out into the world and hiring web designers because now they have a strategy. They want to redo their website or do it from scratch. They would look for support, like virtual assistant support. They will look for marketing support. So I've anticipated those needs for my clients. And now in my own company, I have two departments. We have the coaching and strategy, and then we have what we call the Masters in Clarity Agency, where we solve specific problems like websites, like getting people on stages to speak so that they can promote their businesses, and all kinds of what we call done-for-you services. Now, this is a strategy that I've put in place. I don't run that part of my business. I have a team in place to do it. But what the client gets is a much more streamlined experience from designing a strategy all the way to seeing it come true. So we are now growing, and I'm scaling. This is a Masters in Clarity Agency is a strategy to grow my business without taking more of my time, because I built it as a solution that doesn't require my actual coaching time. So once we have, so here this is all well, great, right? So we spent the first part of the presentation talking about the four first clarity layers, and now is when, and here's the thing, many business owners stop right here. What that means is that they spend a lot of time doing the internal work, clarifying their value proposition, clarifying their messaging, understanding what they're going to offer, the pricing. There's a lot of work that goes on to make sure these four first clarity layers are tight, that they're right on point. But raise your hand, and I can't see your hands, but raise your hand if you are one of those people that kind of like you have all the ducks in a row, and then the going out into the market doesn't really happen, or happens in like kind of a random way. I call it the throwing spaghetti to the wall way, right? Like, oh, maybe I'll do some posts. Maybe I'll put, $200 into Facebook ads, or put an article in a magazine and kind of see what sticks, right? Now, here's the thing I want to say about this. Trust funnels is what I call, you could talk about sales funnels, but I actually choose to talk about trust funnels because I believe that when you create a seamless trust building strategy from zero to closing a sale, you no longer have to do a hard selling pitch. Because at the end of the day, people will work with you if they trust that you can solve their problem. So our job as business owners is to create a strategy and go out into the marketplace. And what I mean by that is be out there, whether it's on social media, on a webinar like I'm doing right now. This is one of the strategies that we use. Being on stages and speaking engagements, being on podcasts, word of mouth, writing a book and having it out into the world, running advertisement on TV, writing blogs, hosting a podcast if you wanted to. There's infinite ways of what I call casting the net, which means being out in the market and being seen. So the process is getting out there with a very clear, concise, and cohesive message, and as simple as 2 actions for that outcome, specifying specifically what problem you solve, so that you can attract. And this is the first part of this funnel that you see, is that you're in the point of attraction attention towards your organization. And many business owners will go from attraction to sell, meaning they go from the first layer, which is attract, all the way to try to close a sale. They find out about you, and the next thing you know, you are offering them to buy a product or service. And what I believe should happen in the middle is what I call the nurture. So the nurture stage is when someone kind of, found out about your company. And here's a metaphor that might make this very easy. I believe that people are out there with this kind of antennas in their head, and that antenna is tuned to one message and one message only. They are looking for a solution to whatever problem they have. If they are new parents, they're looking and they haven't slept in 2 weeks, they're probably looking for, how do I get my baby to sleep? If they have a puppy, and actually I personally have a puppy who's 5 months old, and the puppy is now old enough that she's curious and is running away, my antenna right now literally is, who can help me put an invisible fence or a physical fence in my yard so that the puppy stays in. You could have a problem like, I do frequent trips to the airport. I'm tired of paying parking because I travel for a week at each time. So I'm looking for a reliable car service. Whatever that might be, people are out there with these antennas and they're just looking for messaging and providers that will solve their problem. Once that match happens and they're like, oh, that person might be able to help me, you need to invite them into a conversation. Now, that doesn't mean come talk to me on the phone, because if you are trying to grow a multi-million-dollar company, that's not feasible, right? You can't hop on the phone with everybody. So how are ways that we can capture that attention and put them into a strategy and a process that nurtures that attention? That's where the internet has kind of revolutionized how we capture attention and we nurture, because we now can offer people opportunities to learn about us by inviting them, let's say, to follow our page, by inviting them to download a free solution and get them into our newsletter, by offering to be part of a maybe private group in platforms like LinkedIn or Facebook, where you consistently provide advice or solution or ideas to solve a problem for free, right? This is where the nurturing happens, because what you want is you want the client to feel that if this person is willing to serve me at such high quality level before I even invest a penny, then I trust that when I do invest money on this, in this company, on this provider, they will offer high quality service or product delivery. And so that's what happens in the nurture. You want to be in conversation with your prospect clients. So here's something to be aware, and it's something that I like to, people laugh when I say this, but the nurturing stage of lead, which is what we're talking about, is not very far, not very different from the nurturing stage of a relationship, because ultimately that is what you're doing. You're nurturing a relationship with another human being. Don't ever forget that we are human beings selling or working with another human being. And the humanity in us always is the best strategy. And so think about if any of you have had a partner or are in a lifelong partnership with a spouse or a living partner. Chances are there was a space between the moment you met this human being and the moment you decided to commit into a more stable relationship. Call it marriage, live-in, whatever that is. And so in that kind of, from the moment you met them to the moment you said, I'm going to spend more time with this person, there was something happened. And chances are there were dates, or there were going out for dinner, or phone conversations, or vacations, or whatever happened. There was a nurture phase. And in that nurture phase, there were some components to it that made you come to the conclusion that you trusted this person enough to commit your heart to them, right? And so those elements are simple things like consistency. Let me give you an example. If you were to meet someone tomorrow and you start dating them, and you this person calls you and says, let's go out for dinner, and then they disappear for 5 months, and they'll say, oh, I'm back in town, let's go for lunch. but you did not hear from them for 5 or 6 months, how likely are you that you would accept that next invitation? Probably not very likely, right? But how many of us treat our newsletter or our social media posting or our any coming out into the market in that kind of flimsy, like, oh, I feel like writing a newsletter this week, but I don't feel like writing a newsletter until like 2 months from now. What do you think is the experience of those people that you're trying to nurture? They're probably thinking this person is not consistent. They probably don't really, whenever they come up with something, it's not aligned with a core solution that they offer. And it seems to be like they're all over the place. So lack of consistency leads to lack of trust. Lack of trust leads to harder or almost very difficult sales process. So the nurturing stage requires consistency, requires cohesiveness. Again, back to the idea method. You want to have a cohesive message that is anchored in your core idea. Now, while this cohesive message can show up in incredibly different and creative ways, at the end of the day, you want the people listening to have clarity around what you stand for. What is the one thing that you solve? Even if you are talking about your kids and sharing something personal, tie it back into the work that you do and be very cohesive in that message. So consistency, cohesiveness, and the third element in this nurture session is humanity or authenticity, right? Always try to relate to the other human being listening and from a place of your own human experience. What I mean by that is in the nurturing is not about like pitch, like this is what I do, this is what we do it right, this is where you should buy us. It tells stories. Have them connect with your organization as a group of human beings doing whatever work that you do. Tell the story of your team. Tell the story of how the business came about. Tell the struggles that you face and how you overcome them, right? Tell the human story of your organization, because ultimately, if I have to choose between two vendors that will solve the same problem and probably will solve the problem in the same way, I most likely will choose that vendor that will make me feel like I'm heard and that I can feel that their heart is in it and I can see the humanity. And so the next step of this trust funnel, obviously, is once you nurture that relationship, you want to close it. So if you've done the work well, you almost will get a group of people saying, I now really have this problem and I need to solve it. Can you tell me more about your products or services? And let's go into that conversation. So you want to anchor in this question: what is important to your clients? What do they worry about? What do they dream about? And what do they want most in their lives? The more you stay in the conversation of what's in their head, the more they're going to recognize that you get them. And if you get them, then you are probably the most likely person to effectively solve their problem. So back to our framework, and I'm just taking time to make sure that we're doing well on time. And by the way, thank you so much for coming to my party. It's my birthday today, so I am so excited to be spending time with you and kind of having my little birthday party with all of you today. But so the first part of the idea method is these 5 clarity layers that we just talked about, right? But if you notice in the graphic, there's 4 underlying layers that I mentioned them at the end, but not because they are less important. They actually are critical and they are at play while you are working on the 5 top layers. Number 1 that we're going to explore today, and it's in non-particular order, is vision. Now, here's the thing. A lot of companies go out into the world talking about the vision for their company. Vision and then the mission, right? But a lot of people share openly about their vision, and that is great. But I want you to take a step back and think about and put yourself in your customer's shoes. And when a company goes out into the world and says, we are committed to being the number 1 accounting firm in Massachusetts. As a customer, I could say, well, great, that's good for you, but what does it matter to me? That's why it's important to separate the way we communicate outside to the way we communicate inside of our organization. You want to always be leading with the core idea statement, specifying what problem you solve. But the vision is something that is also critical, but it's critical in the use of your internal conversation with your organization and your team. So the vision is where we ask questions like, what are you looking to celebrate in the next quarter? What are you looking to celebrate in the next 12 months, 24 months, 5 years? This is where you project where you want your organization to be and what growth path you want it to take. This is a critical exercise that you have to do for yourself as a leader and for your team as a group of people that have committed to realizing the vision of the company. But clear conversation around your vision is the only way to get to the target goal. So let's talk about action plan. Needless to say, action plan or action is a critical part of each one of the 5 clarity layers. For every one of these clarity layers that we just identified, there's an action that needs to be taken around it. And one of the things I want to talk about in this particular space is about what I call the company habits. So as an organization, we are constantly taking action, of course, but there's action that we take that is almost like brushing our teeth. For example, I have been delivering a newsletter every Friday for the last 6 years. This is not a big project. It's a weekly project, and there's a very clear system that we have in our company to ensure that this newsletter goes out on time every single Friday. For us, it's like brushing your teeth. And you know how if you, for whatever reason, you had a long flight or something happened and you were not able to brush your teeth one morning or one night, there's like a weird feeling in your mouth. Well, that's how we feel when we don't get our newsletter out on time. And so I want you to ask yourself, what are your company habits? What are the repetitive actions that lead to your success? And do you have a system for them? Or are you treating these kind of repetitive actions as projects every time they come up in your calendar and you have to rally to make them done? It's always with a short deadline. These habits or company habits must be planned, organized, never tight on deadline kind of projects. Otherwise, you internally are running an organization that is always on putting off fire mode. The next question I want you to ask yourself is, how do you create your action plan? How do you create a plan that is clear in priorities and that allows you to successfully manage your time? So the way we do it is that we are very clear in what is the outcome of each of the projects that we take on. So whether you are fulfilling the project yourself or you're going to delegate it, and if you're going to delegate it, it's imperative that you have clarity. You want to always create a project that has a very clear deadline, not just the day, but the date and the time, that is clear milestones so that you can assess progress as you reach that deadline, especially if it's a very big project, but also that you want to ask yourself, what does the completed project, what does the project, when it's completed, look like? You want to be so specific of what will that look like, because when you're delegating a project, the more specific you are, the more direction you're going to give your team, the faster they're going to move, and the less they're going to rely on you for questioning. So, clarity circle number 8, company mindset. So if you're running a show of one, this is about your mindset. If you're running an organization, this is about the company culture. here's where we talk about conversations in our head. And yes, we all have them. You're not special, I'm not special. We all have conversations in our head. And we want to be aware of what kinds of conversations we're having. Because however we talk to ourselves, chances are we are creating the same kind of conversation in our organization. And the way we talk to ourselves many times can be judgmental or putting ourselves down. And unconsciously, we will bring this type of conversation into our organization. So you end up leading an organization where you cultivate a blame or victim mentality. Every time a project is not done on time and the person leading the project blames something or someone else on that not meeting that deadline, is when we are kind of trying to get away from the responsibility of that specific project. Now, obviously, there's moments in time to where projects don't get done because something really big happened. I'm not discussing that. I'm discussing the chronic kind of behavior when people are putting responsibility outside of themselves. And so it starts with you, the leader, and then it transfers all the way to your whole organization. And so finally, and I'm just taking time to ensure we're on board, the last part, which by the way, it just happens to be the last in this presentation, but it's probably one of the biggest, most important clarity layers, and it comes to play right up front when you talk about the idea, is when you talk about the problem you solve, you also have to literally make a decision and say, who do I want to solve this problem with, for? Chances are, whatever you sell, service or product, chances are there's multiple kinds of people that can benefit from your product or service. Now, you need to decide who is it that you're going to talk to. The more you talk to everybody, the more you talk to nobody. Let me say that again. The more you're talking to a large group of people, the less focus is the conversation to the people that should be working with you. So personally for me, 90% of my clients are service entrepreneurs, accountants, therapists, doctors, coaches, dance studios, construction, painters, whatever, you name it. I focus on helping people who deliver services deliver in a way that is more efficient and in a business model that can scale. That's who I talk to. Commit to a kind of people that you want in some ways, and this is kind of cheesy, but I'm going to say it, is who do you want to be a hero to? Now, there may be other people that come and request your services, and you may or may not take that work. That is your choice. But the more I specify your avatar, right? The person that you want to be having a conversation with, the more the person listening will find the resonance and basically raise their hand and say, this person is talking to me. So things like who is your customer? Who do you want to be a hero to, right? Is what we just were mentioning. I'm going to share a handout with you right now. And I'm also going to share a preview. But the clarity assessment is something that you can take from this presentation and you can use to assess where you need more clarity in your business right now. And the way this works, I'll give you a quick rundown on how you would work with this tool on an ongoing basis. This exercise can take 5 minutes or 2 hours, depending on how deep you want to go. But basically, you want to go into each one of these clarity layers, which I just explained, and ask yourself from a scale from, let's say, 1 to 5, 1 being, I am completely lost. Let's say that we're talking about your trust funnel, which is the way that you go to market. I am completely lost. I have no idea how to bring my message and my products and services into the market. I wouldn't know where to start. That's number 1. to number 5, saying, I have a clear strategy, it's working, I'm implementing it consistently, and I'm so happy in this area. So from 1 to 5, you can use this framework to assess each layer of your organization. And then in this exercise, the handout that I just gave you, it's going to ask you a second question is, what would a perfect score, let's say 5, look like? Basically, what you're wanting to do is, first of all, not look at your business and say, everything's broken, I need to shut it down and start again, throw the baby in the bathwater. You want to just look at your business and with this tool, understand exactly what parts are not really working. And trust me, it doesn't matter whether you started your business yesterday or 50 years ago, whether you're making $0 or millions of dollars, there's always one piece that needs your attention. It's like, I'm a mom, I have 4 children. There's always one of my kids that need more time from me, right? So by using this tool, it allows you to get out of that feeling of overwhelm, frustration, and kind of confusion and say, okay, wait, my idea is, it's actually doing well. I'll give it a 4. My provider system, I know exactly what it is and I can communicate it. Okay, I'm a 5 on that, blah, blah, blah. And you go through the whole process and you really are able to understand what is your next move. So with that, I'm going to give you a couple of things. I'm going to give you an offer that I want you to have. And this is a download of an ebook that I wrote where it allows you, so I'm a TEDx organizer and I help people stand out, whether it's on a TED stage or on the market. And this book is going to give you the idea method in action so that you can stand out in your market. So go ahead and download that. And at this point, we are ready for questions. So who has a question that you would want me to answer? Go ahead. And in the meantime, I'm going to ask you a question. Can you still see the offer, or do you want me to put it back up? Go ahead. I'll go ahead and put it back up. Yes, so go ahead in the chat. So Steve, I know you've been listening. What questions do you have? I know everybody's being shy. One of the questions I always get is, what if I am not sure on what is my core idea, right? That's one of the questions I get. And what is the best way to go about it? So 2 actions for that outcome is a framework that I just shared with you on how to state it. But sometimes asking yourself the question, what is the problem that I'm solving? And even going out into your client base and asking them, what is the problem that I solve for you? Because simply asking that question to your clients will give you the language. And here's the important thing. While you might know what you do, you obviously do because you're doing it every day, using the language that your customer uses is very important because that's how you're going to get resonance from your client. So the other part of this is, what are the fastest way? And so here, let me ask you a question. What types of businesses are you running? I know you have Chandler in San Francisco. Tell me about your business. And Declan in Brooklyn and Barack in Houston. What kind of businesses are you guys running? Tell me, let me know so that I can start answering questions specifically on your business. There we go. One of the things that I hear all the time is, a lot of people say, well, I do a lot of speaking so that I can grow my business. But they're like, well, but I'm not getting any any kind of conversion, or I don't get any clients from speaking. And so I want to ask you, what is the one thing that you offer when you're speaking so that the client can enter into your trust funnel? So Chandler, I'm opening up a small brick and mortar that will carry home goods and jewelry. Awesome. Let me ask you a question, Chandler. How do you intend to stand out? How are you going to ensure that your customers come and visit your store? So you can answer that. Jeff, products are easy, but what about intended products or service? I have been in sales for 30 years and building repertoire is most important. My mortgage order, I have gone myself the mortgage loan grader. Jeff, I love your question. So yes, products are more, products are easier to position, but I specialize on service entrepreneurs. And what we do is we create the language around the problem that you solve and make that tangible. So when you are focusing your conversation in the problem that you solve, you get to the point that the client resonates with how you talk about solving the problem, that resonates that the fact that you solve that problem, that how you solve it, you don't have to sell that. You actually sell the solution. Chantal, I have an online clothes store. Chantal, great. How's the attraction to your online clothes? Do you do podcasts? Do you do guest blogging? Tell me more. Oh, Jess, thank you so much. It means a lot to me for you to say that, knowing that you've been in sales for 30 years. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. Thank you, Nelson. Thank you. Happy birthday, he says. I have a problem that I need to solve. Is there any way to watch this great webinar? I am driving and I'm able to take notes of that. Yes. Everybody listening, yes, we will send you I will actually send you the recording. I will also send you the downloads that are included in the recording so that you can download when you get to a pause. So Nelson, please keep on driving. Do not stress. So we have another 12 more minutes, and I would love to answer any questions that anybody will have. So Chantal, are you able to put the link to your online clothes store on the chat so we can all support you? By the way, one of the things I believe in is that as entrepreneurs and business owners, we must support each other. So whether you make a point of buying from small businesses as much as you can, or you just, we all cheer you on, Chantal, here. Always have an intention to support other small business owners, because we are bringing heart into the marketplace, and that's important today. So Chantal says, I'm working on creating the blog because I want to change the boring form to buy in internet by interfacing with the customer. Awesome. One of the things that I'm sure you're doing this, but if you are not, and for anybody listening, chatbots are really great these days to help have a more customized experience of purchasing, and have someone right at the ready, or even with some script that can help someone navigate your marketplace, that makes the customer feel that they're being taken care of. I love that you're already looking to stand out in the experience that your customer has on your online store. And so the Small Business Expo is saying that the webinar will be available on your website within 48 hours. Great. Liz, as a consultant providing strategy and business marketing planning service, so often find small businesses are more inclined to trial and error than spend money to get on with a thought through market research-based strategy and approach. What are some suggestions to overcome their objections to assistance investing in actual strategy? Great point, Liz. And I'm so much on it. Here's one of the strategies that we use. Things like in the consultation, so when someone comes and explores how to work with us, we will ask things like, okay, if in 12 months you are still so if someone comes to, let me back out, if someone comes and requests a consultation with you, chances are they have a problem, right? Otherwise, if not, they wouldn't be wanting a consultation. So you want to make sure that you identify that problem, number one. Number two, that you make them say it out loud, that they verbalize that problem. Because sometimes they might think they have a problem, and until they say it out loud, they won't feel it, okay? And once they feel it, and they become really aware of that problem, and what is stopping them from solving that problem, basically, if they come to you, is because they've already tried some stuff. And then you go through your, proposal of what would look like to work with you, and then you ask them again, what would you feel like if 12 months from now you feel exactly as you feel right now? Basically, 12 months from now, they still have the problem. Make them feel that. And so what you're offering them is an opportunity to move past that problem that they're having and into the situation or the reality they're looking for. Many times what happens is that people are I'm going to say this because I am a coach, by the way. It is, and this is counterintuitive, guys, okay? But it's safer to stay in the problem because we can play victim than realizing a dream that we don't think it's true. So you want to help them see what is possible if they overcome that problem and make them fall in love with that vision. Liz, did that help you? Let me know in the chat. Chantal, yes, this is so Chantal put your website so we can all support you. Great. Awesome. We'll check it out. Any other thoughts or comments? And by the way, I'm in Massachusetts. If you want to party tonight, you can come over to my house. We have 8 more minutes of questions. I see Kimberly, Debbie, Lorna, Kenya, Robert, Jolene, Orisa, William. Do you guys have questions? Alexandra, Lena. I love your typo, Chantal. I am a coach, not a couch. Yes, I am an executive coach, and so I combine coaching, so life coaching, executive coaching. So I work on leadership, personal development of the life you want to have, and I merge that with strategy. That's what I said, earlier on in the conversation in the presentation. I talked about business model, and I talked about a lot of strategies will come and offer you a business model that is proven in the market, which is great. But I will do that, and then I will say to you, how does that fit and align with the life you want to have? Because we're not business owners just to make money. We're business owners so that we can make money our way. So I work on helping people align the life they want to have with the business they want to run. Does that make sense, Chantal? Don't worry, you don't have to apologize. It was cute. Okay, so we have Stephen. Did I cover anything you wanted me to cover? I want to make sure that the Small Business Expo folks are happy and that you guys got what you needed from this presentation. Chantal, you're very welcome.
Yes, that was very, very great. Thank you so much for your time today, especially with it being your birthday. Thank you for spending your birthday with us. And just as a reminder to everyone, this particular webinar will be available back on our website for everyone that's registered to view at any time. Generally speaking, it takes about 48 hours for the content to upload. It's usually before. However, we'd like to set the expectation of about 2 days. And if anyone has any additional questions, we'll pass along information over to Dolores so that she's able to send any follow-ups. So if anyone can think of anything at a later time, Dolores should be in contact with everyone shortly. Was there anything else that you wanted to say before we end things, Dolores?
I think I'll just, I don't know, Stephen, if you can put the offer again, just if anybody wants to download it. But if you visit my website, mastersincareer.com, you can actually schedule a consultation with us right there. There's a button that says Start Here. And we do take what we call clarity calls. You will walk away with clarity around the area of your business that you're struggling right now. And that's kind of about it for me. And so Chantal, yes, right here we have our contact information, mastersinclarity.com. That's the main website, and you click start here, and you can book a consultation. So yeah. So I think
And
that's
there's that
it for
offer
today.
again. Yeah,
Yeah.
so everyone, you should be seeing an offer pop up on your screen now. I sent it, and I believe Dolores just resent it. So if you hit that download now button, it'll redirect you to where you need to go. And Dolores, again, thank you so much for all of the content and for spending your birthday with us, and should be in contact soon.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity to add value to your community.
Thanks so